Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything. I'm coming at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In this video, we'll be assembling the Sarissa Precision Limited Large Paint Rack. That's right, there is a paint rack in this package. It's going to come out and it's going to look a lot like that, hopefully, right? I mean, if I do it all right. So we're going to assemble this on stream, but first of all, before I do that, I kind of wanted to show you a little something about my paint situation and why I thought I might be able to use this at my desk. Let me take the camera off the tripod and I'll show you. There's a selection of my paints right here. I've got Vallejo and Warlord, and I've got Model Master and Citadel and Old Armory and Tamiya paints. I've got paints from these paints here are like classic paints, and then these are like newer paints. Okay, plus I've got a lot of the folk art paints, not just in here but also in there. I've got quite a bit of folk art. Now let me show you my desk where I'm doing all my paints. Alright guys, well this is my computer desk, and you can see, well, there's like the keyboard and mouse and all that stuff, but you can see that I've got limited amount of space, and you can see the paint that I've got collected, the glue, I've got my paint brushes in a cup, and this is where I'm doing like flocking for my anti-tank gun and stuff like that, and my tools are laying here. I don't really have a very good setup here. Now I'm afraid that my monitor might be in the way if I do any kind of paint rack, so just today I added a couple of books there in anticipation of elevating the monitor a little bit so that I could see over the paint rack. Alright, so let's go ahead and put the paint rack together, and then you'll be able to, and then I'll put all my paints and things in there that I'm going to use for my market garden project, and then we will see how it might save me space or not. I mean, I don't know yet. Let's go ahead and assemble it, and let's find out. All right, now when we assemble this, I plan to use Aleene's tacky glue. So let's go ahead and put that over there, and let's go ahead and cut this out. I will have to say that Sarissa shipped me this like the day after I ordered it, and because it was coming from overseas, it took about 7 to 10 days for me to actually get it. I want to say it took less than 10 days for me to get this. All right, and this is just an advertisement on how to paint their product, like when you're doing buildings. And this is the same paint rack that you see on the Warlord Games site. It shows, whoa, okay, things are falling apart. It shows the Warlord has the exact same paint rack, but they repackaged it to and included the Warlord logo. I wonder if I could save these for bases or something. These are the things that go in here. I got a few of them left over. I might be able to save them. I don't know how many millimeters those are. Let's figure that. I'll figure that out later. Okay, that is another side. Those two look all identical, and this probably looks identical to that. Okay, and now here's the instructions, all of one page. Glue the base spacer bars to, okay, that's this guy down here, to the side panels 1. Okay, now I'm looking at this. This is obviously the side panel, but it doesn't say 1 on it anywhere. So how would I know, just by looking, that it was the side panel? It doesn't even have like a little 1 next to it or anything. Okay, let's pop this bitch out. Now, if you've watched my channel, you've probably seen me build quite a few of these Sarissa buildings. If you haven't, I recommend checking it out. And you can see that one side you can see the laser cutting, and then on the other side it's like smooth. So you would think you'd want the laser cutting to the inside and the smooth to the outside, but I think the laser cutting kind of looks cool. So I might put that on the outside. I think that's what I'm gonna do. It's this one, because it's got the little foot little footies. Is there a second one of these? Right there. There it is. Okay. All right. So that's about the size of the rack that you're going to see. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just laying all the shelves in. I'm not applying any glue. This is just to make sure that I've got the right pieces in the right places. I don't want to mess this up. Okay, when assembling this, remember that they all have, here let me slide these out because I haven't glued them in yet. They all have these little notches on the bottom where the floor of your shelf will actually connect into those. But this very top one, because it's the back of the shelf, it doesn't have that those holes. All right, so let's apply some glue inside there. Go ahead and do the bottom one. Okay, so now let me go ahead and glue all of these in, and then I'll be right back. Now, you notice how I did like every other one, just like lug nuts. And if you wanted to, you could always paint this, seal it, prime it, or whatever you want to do to make it look better. I don't know if I'm going to do that or if I'm just going to leave it brown like this. Brown like this does look good. It's coming together. Alright, so all the shelf fronts are on and the shelf back. And now we got to do the shelf bottoms. On the shelf bottoms, like I said, there's a couple little notches here that fit into the shelf fronts. And then of course these go in. Now, because of the thickness of the base, you'll notice there's a hole on the side. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, you can. And that's where this guy will slide in like this. Or you could do it from the other side. You could slide it in like that, however you want to do it. Let me go ahead and apply some glue to the part where it hits the upright. And then I'm going to apply some glue along the front here where it connects to the shelf. Okay, now let's see if we can't get that in without getting glue on everything. And this is the solid one, so this is the bottom one. Wow, slid all the way down, okay. Sliding it down, and then I'm making sure the little notches fit in where they belong. Pressing it up against the shelf front. That all looks good. Now the rest of these are all the same, and they basically do exactly the same thing. Put glue on the side where the riser is, and then along the front to catch the front of the shelf. The second one is also through the hole, but it's the top one. Line up the notches, apply some pressure from the bottom shelf to the front of the shelf. So far so good? Alright. Now I'm going to skip a couple. Like I said, lug nuts. Get the notches in. Okay. Let me keep going and I'll be right back. Okay, now on this top shelf, I'm going to have to finagle it a little bit because I broke part of this piece off. But I do believe the fact that there's going to be these notches here and there is a little bit of a notch there, that it will hold it secure as long as I apply glue. And I might put a little more glue on that side just to make sure. But yeah, I think the fact that it's going to be glued into the front panel will keep it from falling. Okay, that's excessive glue on that. Okay, let's apply some pressure. Yep, that's in the notch up top. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, because once that glue dries, it's not coming off. Okay, so that's the paint rack so far, right, as we go. Now there's a few more steps. Skipped a step. There are feet that are supposed to go on the bottom. Let's go ahead and do that while I'm thinking about it. Two little X's. Pretty cool. X's and O's. Okay. Just going to kind of hold this in my hand while I apply some glue. That one's tight. That one's tight as well. Okay. Okay. Cool. Slide that off to the side. Now let's get the hanging paint racks, paintbrush racks. That's these pieces here. Ooh, this one doesn't want to come out. Be careful. These right here are all part of the paintbrush rack. Each side has a set of these. Broke off. Okay. And there's little pieces like that. This giant square. I don't know, I'm going to have to measure these. Maybe I can use them as bases for something. Figure bases. And these little circles, I don't know what I could use those for, but who knows what, maybe something. Those I might actually save. Okay. Getting rid of all the excessive wood. Okay, it's simple enough. These things have little hooks. They go onto the side of your paint rack and they just hook on and they hang. The bottom of the rack is this flat piece, right? Obviously. And then you've got options here. It doesn't say it's mandatory. It's basically options. So you can put your tool holder way low if you want, and then maybe another one. Whoa, you want to put them like that, where you can have your paintbrushes. If you have short paintbrushes, I tend not to have short paintbrushes, so I'm going to put it high like that. This piece might actually go in the middle like that. I think that's how I'm going to have mine. Glue the top together. Basically, I did the middle one. Then I'll do the top one. And then I'll go in and do the bottom one. Okay, and I'm just going to let that sit. It looks pretty level. I'm going to do the second one. Yep, those are glued. Everything's glued. Now I'm going to let it sit for just a second. I'll be back in just a minute once these are comfortably dried, and then what I'm going to do is hang them on the side of the rack. thick. It's just in there super tight. Alright guys, now I just finished putting this right piece in to the side, but it was super tight. I mean, it was tighter than it should have been, in my opinion. Well, let's go ahead and see if this one goes in any easier. Oh yeah, I can already tell this one's going to be a lot easier. It just popped in. The other side was just super tight. All right, it's in, it's hanging, it's glued, and it's finished. All right, now give me a second to clean off my table, put the paint on the rack, and see what I can do about straightening up the table, and give you an after photo of my painting table. Alright, now look at the difference of this paint rack and table. I went ahead and put all the paints that I had on the table, not all of them, but 90% of them on there. And I even put my glue, and I even have my pin vise down inside there, which I can put that somewhere else. I just put it in there temporarily. But I've got my pliers hanging on the top there, and then I've got all my brushes. I even have my tweezers right there, and I have the bigger brushes in the back right there. And if you look closely, there's enough space behind the rack, and I've got my PVA Elmer's glue bottle hidden behind the rack, along with that giant bottle of brown paint and the Aliens tacky glue. I went ahead and put it back there behind, and there's a lot of room back there, so I could put other things back there in disguise. And now I'm going to be able to take some of my other paints from my paint collection here and pick and choose the ones that I'm going to use for that particular project. Like maybe I'm going to be using a lot of OD green, or a lot of like I'm painting Americans or I'm painting Germans. I can prepare my paint area by putting the paints that I need in the paint rack, and that way I don't have to constantly go back and forth to my tub. It'll all be right here ready for me to paint. And plus that cleans up the area quite a bit, don't you think? Yeah, I went ahead and elevated the monitor with another book, because I wanted it to be just a little bit higher, and so it's over the paint rack. And that's me. I mean, you could put your paint rack where you want it, but in my case, this is my painting area over here, and I have a monitor that it would block. Alright guys, well, thank you for coming out and checking out this Sarissa paint rack construction, and I'll catch you next time.